And Northpoint is celebrating the grand opening of the first of its kind adolescent mental health treatment center in Omaha today.
1, 2, 3. Hey.
The facility is designed for teens aged 12 to 17 who are struggling with various mental health issues like depressive disorders, anxiety disorders, and mood disorders, just to name a few. Problems at school, changes in behavior, and severe mood changes can be signs that your child might need clinical intervention. The vice president of Northpoint Recovery, Mark Jones, says they've noticed a trend among our youth.
During the pandemic, the suicide rates, for example, for young people actually went down when they weren't in school. And now that they're back in school, you see that kind of increased social pressure and all the social media pressure and all those things that go with it. So being able to respond to the needs of the community and look at kind of what the emerging trends and problems are really, really important to our entire fabric of the community.
The Imagine program includes a complete psychological and mental health evaluation, individual, group, and family-focused therapy sessions, and transition planning to help your teen integrate back into the community, school, or ongoing care. A clinical assessor will determine if your teen qualifies for the program. Imagine offers a free confidential assessment with a parent or guardian present.